Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us here on This Is Now. Today is a first alert weather day as parts of the state have been experiencing some heavy rain and even some thunderstorms.
Yeah, we have a flood watch up for all islands. That's been extended through 6 tonight. And after a wet weekend with the ground already saturated, there is a continued threat for flooding. For more on what we can expect today, we're joined by meteorologist Drew Davis. What can you tell us, Drew?
Hey guys, thanks for having me in this morning. We've been tracking this threat all of last week and throughout the weekend, and we're going to continue to have this first alert weather day up until at least tomorrow morning. Again, this is island chain wide. We're tracking heavy rainfall and potentially even some lingering thunderstorms out there, and this is going to be again throughout tomorrow morning. So here's what we're tracking. We've got first alert weather days out there, a flood watch through 6 p.m. that's been extended through 6 p.m. today, and gustier trade winds are expected as we go throughout the majority of this week. Here's a map of the flood watch that we're tracking. This is going to continue until 6 p.m. on Monday. And let's go through your first alert radar and satellite. Obviously, you can see a lot of green out there, even some yellow, some orange in between Maui County and the Big Island. This is over the last 4 hours. We've actually seen that cell dissipate over the last hour here. Over on the Big Island, relatively quiet, some small showers, weak showers over near Hilo, and some showers in between the Big Island and Maui County. There have been some thunderstorms just off to the east of Maui. Most of the thunderstorms that we've seen with this system have stayed offshore. We've got some light rainfall over Lanai and Molokai, and moving over to Oahu. Over the last hour, we've had some showers up near the North Shore and over along the Ko'olau, but this seems to be dissipating over the last hour. Ashley, like you said, we're still tracking for the flooding threat because we've had a lot of rainfall out there, so the ground is already saturated, and when you have a lot of water in the ground, it's easier for flooding to occur. So let's walk through what we can expect going forward in our first alert futurecast. We actually are going to be seeing a little bit of moisture out there throughout the rest of Monday. This is Monday at 8 p.m. Some showers possible over near the Garden Isle. And again, most of the rainfall could stay offshore. This is a very hit or miss system. It's a lot of instability in the atmosphere, so it could be raining on one side of the island very heavily and not raining at all on the other side of the island. As we go forward throughout the rest of this week, this is Tuesday. Some showers are still possible, but overall a slightly drier weather pattern is expected across the entire island chain going forward as we get these gustier trade winds to return. This is the case throughout Wednesday and Thursday. Our surf and shoreline forecast out there, we're seeing north-facing shores around 7 to 10 feet, east-facing shores around 6 to 8 feet. We've actually been tracking some energy moving in from the east. If you remember last week, we were tracking major hurricane, which was a Category 5 hurricane. Christy, completely fallen apart, but it has sent some swell energy our way. You can see that on our swell forecast by the time we get to Tuesday and Wednesday. That's completely gone. Then our eyes turn to the north and northwest, where we'll actually see a large country swell that will arrive by the time we get to Friday and Saturday. We could likely see high surf advisories, potentially high surf warnings with this one. Of course, the jury's still out on that. As we get more data in, we'll be able to tell you how large the surf is with this incoming system. We've also been monitoring the Pacific for another potentially even named storm. Over the next 7 days, a 50% chance of development just to the southeast of us. We've been tracking this system over the past couple of days. It could move closer to us. It might dissipate before it gets close to us, so it could just be some energy moving in closer towards the island chain. Of course, a lot to track as we're going forward over the next couple of weeks, especially with the first alert weather day and that system potentially off to the southeast of us. Again, thanks for having me in this morning, guys.
A lot happening out there. Our Drew Davis, thank you so much for that forecast. Turning now to some other news around the island. One man is hospitalized and another is behind bars following an apparent stabbing. It happened around 11 a.m. Sunday morning on Kamehameha IV Road. EMS rushed a 26-year-old to the ER in serious condition. Police later captured a 33-year-old suspect. There's no word on what led up to this attack. We're learning about another officer-involved shooting here on Oahu. This is the second one in 8 days. This time, an alleged car thief opened fire on police, prompting a shootout outside several homes at Kuhio Park Terrace. Our Eddie Dowd reports.
Police say this officer-involved shooting in the Kuhio Park Terrace area actually started at Aloha Stadium when officers spotted a stolen vehicle that made its way to Kalihi. That ended with the suspect being shot multiple times by officers.
And I heard bam, 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 and then I seen them running.
Before shots rang out, officers could be seen searching the public housing complex around 1 a.m. According to police, the 47-year-old driver of the vehicle parked at the property and tried to flee the scene.
Officers that were pursuing the driver on foot when he turned and fired a single shot at the officer's direction. Officers returned fire, and the suspect was struck multiple times.
No officers were injured. Law enforcement sources say the suspect was shot 5 times in the arms, chest, and leg. So you're saying it happened on the lower properties?
Yes, the lower homes, it happened right there.
EMS treated him at the scene and transported him to the hospital in serious condition. Police Chief Joe Logan says the 2 officers who fired their weapons were offered administrative leave as standard department procedure. Do you believe the officers had justification in the shooting?
That's under investigation. Will lead to that. Based on the facts I have right now, it appears that way, yes.
Logan says the officers were not wearing body cameras because they were part of HPD's crime reduction unit. According to court records, the suspect arrested was out on bail on drug dealing charges. He also has at least 36 convictions and 14 felonies. HPD says a 34-year-old female who was in the stolen vehicle was also arrested. It makes it the 3rd violent incident in recent months at a public housing complex in Kalihi. HPD is now considering stepping up police presence.
Maybe since the last 2 shootings, they started coming around even more, which I'm thankful for. They're making their presence known.
The suspect faces first-degree attempted murder charges for shooting at a law enforcement officer, along with illegal possession of what police call a ghost gun. Eddie Dowd, Hawaii News Now.
A man and his 2 young sons are safe today after their boat capsized over the weekend in waters off Lanai. The Coast Guard responded to a Mayday call that came in a little after noon on Saturday. They found a 16-foot vessel 7 miles south of Manele Harbor. The man and his 2 sons, ages 8 and 12, were seen clinging to the hull. They were not wearing life jackets, according to officials. All 3 were hoisted from the water in a helicopter and transported to safety. No injuries were reported. Officials want to remind boaters to carry a handheld marine radio and life jackets in case of emergencies. An investigation is also underway today after a driver crashed his vehicle into a Waipahu home. This happened just before midnight yesterday on Eleu Street. We're told no one inside the home was hurt. Meanwhile, the 20-year-old driver was hospitalized in serious condition, and it's still unclear if speed and/or alcohol were factors. Vice President Kamala Harris is seizing on a controversial comment made by a comedian at a Trump rally. This as both candidates are trying to get their supporters to the polls in the final week of the presidential campaign. Natalie Brand reports from the White House.
Vice President Kamala Harris toured a semiconductor plant in Saginaw, Michigan that's bringing jobs to the battleground state.
Hiring folks who, by the way, are doing highly skilled work that are good paying jobs that don't require a college degree.
She's trying to bolster her economic message with polls showing her trailing former President Donald Trump on the issue. In the final week of the campaign, closing arguments Trump laid out at Sunday's Madison Square Garden rally are being overshadowed by what comedian Tony Hinchcliffe had to say.
There's literally a floating island of garbage in the middle of the ocean right now. Yeah. I think it's called Puerto Rico.
The Trump campaign says the joke does not reflect the views of the former president, but among those condemning it, influential Puerto Rican superstar Bad Bunny, who's signaling support for Kamala Harris.
Fans the fuel of hate and division, and that's why people are exhausted with him.
Trump, looking to move on from the comments, is campaigning in Georgia, first stopping at a faith summit with pastors working to rally the evangelical vote.
That is a lot of religion out there. That's pretty good.
He will rally later tonight in Atlanta as both campaigns fight for any remaining undecided voters and urge their supporters to turn out.
They have a very bad agenda, and we have to stop it, and we have to win this election. I think winning this election, I think it's going to be the most important election in the history of our country.
Georgia's Secretary of State says 40% of voters have already cast ballots.
The early vote is often like the abstract art painting of the political world. People can see whatever they want in it, which is to say we don't know exactly how these folks have voted.
A new CBS News poll shows the race neck and neck nationally and a dead heat across the battleground states. Natalie Brand, CBS News, the White House.
Authorities in Oregon are investigating the possible connections of 3 ballot box fire incidents after 2 boxes were found set on fire with incendiary devices in Portland and Vancouver early this morning. Police said the 2 incidents are very similar to a 3rd incident that took place earlier this month. Elections officials said a fire suppressant inside the boxes helped protect the ballots, and only 3 ballots out of hundreds were damaged.
We do know that acts like this are targeted and they're intentional, and we're concerned about that intentional act trying to affect the election process. We're dedicated to stopping that kind of behavior, and we're working toward that today.
The FBI is also investigating. The UN Security Council is holding an emergency meeting today as the world waits to see how Iran will respond. Ralph Sanchez has the latest.
3 days after Israel carried out an unprecedented set of airstrikes against military targets in Iran, we are hearing a hardening of rhetoric coming from the Iranian regime. Iran initially downplayed the Israeli attack, which is the first time that Israel has ever openly struck its Middle Eastern archenemy. But as the smoke cleared and it became clear that not only that 4 Iranian soldiers were killed in the bombing, but also that a number of military bases were struck, we are now hearing tougher language. Iran's foreign ministry saying it will use all available tools to respond to the Israeli attack, while Iran's supreme leader very much leaving the door open to the possibility of revenge attacks. President Biden is saying he wants to see this as the end of the matter. He's calling on both sides not to escalate further. And today, Israel is a country on edge following a suspected truck ramming north of Tel Aviv yesterday. The ramming took place near the gates of a military base, but the majority of the victims were senior citizens. One man in his early 70s was killed. More than 30 people were injured. The driver, a Palestinian man with Israeli citizenship, was shot dead at the scene. Ralph Sanchez, NBC News, Tel Aviv.
McDonald's is bringing the Quarter Pounder back to all its restaurants this week after a deadly E. coli outbreak. The company pulled the burger from 900 locations after 75 people got sick and one of them died. McDonald's says a test of its beef patties found no sign of infection. The FDA believes slivered onions from a single supplier caused the problem, and McDonald's is confident the contamination has been removed from the supply chain. For now, the Quarter Pounders will come without the onions at the affected restaurants. Consumer watchdog groups say customers should feel safe eating at McDonald's.
You know, I'm sure that McDonald's is doing more testing than a lot of other restaurants right now. And so if they're testing their beef and they say it's good, then you can trust that. I mean, there are a lot of foods that we eat every single day. We get from the grocery store or at restaurants that are not necessarily tested as well as everything probably is at McDonald's right now.
Researchers say there has only been a slight uptick in the number of recalls this year, even though it may feel like there's been a lot. That's because recent recalls like boar's head meat and frozen waffles and pancakes have involved higher profile brands with people getting sick. The Hawaii State Department of Education has released its official enrollment figures for the 2024-2025 school year. A total of 165,340 students are enrolled in Hawaii's public and charter schools. That's down 1.4% from last year. The DOE says the decline, quote, aligns with statewide demographic trends, including reduced in-state births. The largest public high schools this year are Campbell, Waipahu, and Mililani, with the student body reaching over 2,000 students. An expo aimed at reversing the trend of Hawaii residents relocating to the mainland was held at the Blaisdell Center on Saturday. The Priced Into Paradise inaugural expo featured over 100 informational booths in hopes of changing the narrative that homeownership is unattainable.
A lot of times people are, they feel like they don't make enough or maybe they can't afford to live here. But the truth of it all is that they can with good planning and being able to find the right people to help them.
We've been able to talk to a lot of people, actually a family that even came from Kauai because they wanted to learn how to purchase their first home and how to teach their nieces, nephews, and their siblings of their own generation how to purchase their first home.
Expert panelists address topics such as home buying 101, home renovations, and real estate investing. If you're looking for a new career, another Hawaii Career Expo is happening this Wednesday. Casey Lund is at the Blaisdell with the details.
Aloha from the Blaisdell Center. That Career Expo happening on October 30th, a Wednesday, from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. We're here at the Blaisdell, and while we're talking about, of course, opportunities within many different departments of the city and county of Honolulu. One of those is the Department of Design and Construction. Haku Mills is with us, director of the DDC. I want to talk, before we talk about some of the opportunities you folks have, what's happening behind us. This is a pretty cool project.
Yes, we're basically putting a roof on the parking structure here. It's 132,000 square feet. This will generate about 4 million kilowatt hours annually to serve the center here. We also have a 1 megawatt power battery, basically to be able to keep things going for the night events.
It's pretty cool to kind of see this, and we're seeing some of the video of this coming in and being installed. And these kind of projects, these kind of design initiatives are some of the things that maybe people don't think about every day. You know, there's different city departments that folks interact with every single day, but really DDC touches so much of this community.
Yes, we basically do the capital improvement projects for the city. So we handle all of the infrastructure and the city facilities. As a lot of people know, our infrastructure is aging, our facilities are getting older as well. We need capable engineers and architects to be able to keep them in good shape.
Yeah, we were just out with your assistant, Mark, out at the wastewater treatment center just a little while ago talking about the kind of open house you folks had for engineers. You're looking for more than just engineers as well. You need people to work in the offices, all kinds of stuff.
Yes, we have about 20 to 25% vacancy right now. We'd like to hire at least 15 engineers, and the rest we need support throughout the office as well. And engineers ranging from civil, mechanical, electrical, and architects as well.
Yeah, a lot of exciting opportunities. I know that you folks will be represented down here on Wednesday, as well as other departments. Haku Mills with us from DDC. We appreciate your time. And again, if you're interested in some of those opportunities within the city and county, and there's more than just city, county, state government, private entities, different firms will be here represented at the Blaisdell as well. Again, that's 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. on this Wednesday. More information at hawaiinewsnow.com. We'll send things back into the studio for now.
All right, here's a live look outside. Again, it's a first alert weather day across the state. Guy's going to have your forecast after this quick break.
Aloha on this Monday. It's a first alert weather day. We could still see flooding conditions persist until 6 p.m. today. There's a chance for heavy rain. We're talking statewide, but especially for Kauai and Oahu. So if you live in an area that has flooded before, take precautions because it could flood again. The ground very saturated already in many parts across state. There's that big system. It's slowly going to be pulling away to the west, but until it does, we could still see some heavy rainfall. And we're talking statewide, right? So later today, the threat will grow higher for Kauai and Oahu as that system slowly moves out towards the west. So it's a first alert weather day, meaning you could get flooding. It could disrupt your normal routine. So scattered showers expected throughout the day. Breezy winds will pick up as well. That will help with the rainfall from building up. And as far as the surf, it's still going to be elevated for east and north shores. We're talking about a swell that's coming from what used to be Hurricane Christy. Now keep in mind, there could be some brown water around in many areas across the state, as well as some choppy conditions due to those strong trade winds. So again, today is a first alert weather day. Drier conditions coming in tomorrow, and the strong and breezy trade winds, they will persist into the weekend.
A teenage surfer hopes to make some big waves in California next month as he goes for the gold in the World Championships as a blind competitor. Tina Kraus has his inspiring story.
The sound of the waves and the feel of the water are what Ben Newman connects with as he trains for the World Parasurfing Championships in a wave pool in Germany. You can tell a lot from the sound of a wave, he says, and I often put my hand in the water to feel if I'm going faster or slowing down. Newman lost his sight at age 6 because of a genetic defect, and at 13, he told his parents he wanted to surf. Now his father is his coach, helping him navigate his dream, using wireless headphones to communicate when and where a wave is coming. He says our world collapsed at first when we found out Ben was blind, but we decided as a family to make a break for it and go on with life. The 19-year-old just won the first parasurfing competition held on German waves and says the thrill of hearing crowds go wild drowns out the limits of sight. In a way, surfing is also therapy for me, he says. Achieving something like this gives me self-confidence in my everyday life. He'll carry that confidence to California next month as he goes for gold, sensing his way to victory one wave at a time. Tina Kraus, CBS News.
The guitar George Harrison played more than 300 times with the Beatles from 1959 to 1964 is one of the featured items hitting the auction block next month. It could fetch $600,000 to $800,000. Julian's Auctions is previewing many of the items at the Hard Rock Cafe in New York through Sunday. They include signed guitars played by Eddie Van Halen and Eric Clapton, an outfit worn by Britney Spears, and Moon Man trophy awarded for Madonna's Ray of Light video.
It's our second annual played, worn and torn auction. Over 860 items going on the auction block.
The auction is expected to bring in up to $4 million in revenue. It will be held online and live in Nashville on November 20th and 21st.
A North Carolina man cannot believe his luck. Last Tuesday, Jerry Hicks went to a convenience store and found $20 laying in the parking lot. Hicks went into the store and bought a scratch-off lottery ticket. Turns out that ticket was worth $1 million. He claimed his prize last Friday, and he's opting to get a lump sum payment instead of getting smaller amounts over 20 years. Hicks is from Banner Elk near the Blue Ridge Mountains of North Carolina. He has spent his life as a carpenter and says he plans to use the money to help his children and retire after 56 years on the job.
Well, in today's good news now, we're looking toward the holidays because they are right around the corner. And in fact, members of the White House staff were in Newland, North Carolina today to select the Christmas tree that will be on display in the Blue Room of the White House. Staffers arrived at Cartner's Christmas Tree Farm and made their choice of the tree that will go to Washington, D.C. Today was only the selection process. The tree won't actually be harvested until November 20th. Cartner's Tree Farm was named the 2024 Grand Champion Grower at the National Christmas Tree Contest. The winner of that contest has provided the official White House tree since 1966. But before Christmas comes Halloween, and this is a friendly reminder that our This Is Now Halloween costume contest is going on right now. Show us your adorable, scary, funny costumes. Take a picture and upload them to the story on our website, hawaiinewsnow.com, along with our mobile news app. Our Tin team will then pick our finalists, and it will be up to a public vote. And if you're a winner, some of the prizes include gift cards to some amazing restaurants. Be sure to submit those photos as soon as you can, because Halloween is coming up this week already. Oh,
Crazy.
my goodness.
Thursday.
Yes. Thanks for watching, everyone.
Aloha.